Now, our next speaker is Sri Vasudhendra. Actually, he is an LGBT writer, LGBT activist. He writes novels, he writes short stories and essays. I think in Malayalam, not much of LGBT writers, except our dearest Vijayaraja Malliga, who is a poet. And as Madam told, LGBT, that subject comes in many of our novels and short stories. Many of our major writers, they are including this subject. And I feel that it is not a, it's not a fault, because it is a part of our life also. So in Sarah Joseph's novel, like K.R. Meera, they are all that touched this subject of LGBT also. But I feel that recently I read a novel about LGBT life, that is Shivakami. It was a nice novel, I felt. But when an LGBT writer or an LGBT person reads that, I don't know how it will be. So that is what we have to hear from Vasudhendra about his writing, about this, their experiences, and how he brings this in his short stories and novels and even in essays. I am welcoming Vasudhendra for his speech.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Khadija Mumtaz, for that introduction. And just a clarification, like I have written 16 books. Out of that, the one book is on LGBT. It's not all of them, okay? So I have a different kind of writings. To just give an example, the recent novel of mine is more on second century Silk Route. It's nothing to do with the LGBT activism. But of course, I'm very proud and out, openly gay Kannada writer. And Mrunalini, thank you very much for that wonderful lecture on Telugu writing especially, so what's going on. We have similarities in Kannada, but of course many differences as well. In fact, I would like to thank Sahitya Academy and Tunchan Memorial Trust for considering other Indian language craft in their fiction writing on this occasion of M.T. Vasudevan Nayar's Memorial Day. But because M.T. doesn't just belong to Malayalam, he belongs to every other language who are sensitive towards the fiction. So listening to other language craft works during his period is extremely important. So I focus more from the Kannada perspective. Yeah, Kannada, the translations of MTs are quite high, so people have read. So many books have been translated, so many short stories. For example, Rendamulam has come, Manju has also come in Kannada, and Nalkattu, of course, from the Central Sahitya Academy, and at least 4 or 5 anthologies of his short story collections are available in Kannada, because I think maybe Kannada is directly attached to Kerala, and we have many Kasargodu authors are there who are bilingual, right? So that's the reason why we have more MT, and from childhood I am reading M.T. Vasudevan Nayar in Kannada. But more moving towards the M.T. Vasudevan Nayar, I'll consider myself to stick to the Kannada literature, what has happened during this particular period, which might be new to you, because so many speakers have already spoken about M.T. Vasudevan Nayar. See, this language is like water. It takes the shape of the personality of the writer. So it's the same Kannada language. When it's used by one author and by another, it looks very different for us. And then again it flows, it's available for the third person or the forthcoming person. He can use the same language and make a different shape of the same language. It's that flexible. So that is the reason why today, still today, we are able to read fiction as if it's something new. It's the same old life, same system, everything is same, but still stories look very, very different because language has that flexible ability to take the shape of the person who is writing. So, taking that into consideration, when we come to Kannada with the modern way of writing, so let us not get into the history, only the modern last 100 years if you take it up. So, from 1900 to 2000, up to 2000, till I think 2002, MT was very much active in the writing. I think till 2002 has written is what I heard. So, during that period, if I take it up, initial days, there were 4 distinguished paths. Actually, you can distinguish 4 paths which fiction writers took. One is Kannada has a history of almost like 2000 years of fiction. People are writing from almost from the beginning of the century. But what has happened is only from 9th century onwards, we are able to get the writings. We don't get the ones which have been written before the 9th century. We don't get it properly. So when we see that, they cannot leave that path, the old Kannada path, the old traditional path, which was always poetry. Because poetry is very easy to remember. If you ask any one of you to recite a poem which you have learnt in your primary school, you will be able to do that. But if I ask you to recite a prose which you have read in your young age, primary schools, you will not be able to do that. The poetry is very easy, so always they had taken the poetry form. But now they were trying to write in the prose form. Prose was not very much an Indian, to be frank, though there are so many prose Siddhas. So that is the one trend which was there. They were trying to improve the old style and write it in new style. And then other one was, there was lot of translations from Bengal and Marathi. During the 1900 to 1930, lot of translations which came from Bengali, mainly from Bankim Chandra Chatterjee and Sharat Chandra Chatterjee. Their fictional works came to Kannada, and there was an influence of those novels. People started writing imitatingly a similar kind of fiction in Kannada. But of course, there was progressive movement which was going on in the society. So much of progressive movement was going on, whether it could be a widow marriage, or it could be the education system, or the caste system. So all those were addressed in a progressive way, means an ideological way. Also, there's another path which came. For example, we have a Dalit, about a Dalit person writing, that is, someone discussed about it, is Chomanadudi. Chomanadudi was written in 1933. It was much before then even MTV started writing his fiction also. So that before, so we had Dalit writing, and till today it is well respected. Like though there is a view that non-Dalit should not write anything about Dalit, but it's not as strong as what Mrunalini was speaking about. I myself, being a LGBT activist, I wrote about Mohanaswamy, but it doesn't mean that someone else should not write anything about it. Like, it's all welcome. Anyone can put their perspective also, right? So everyone has to express their perspectives. Otherwise, like with that kind of a segmentation, a creative art will not be formed, okay? So it will not be formed. So everyone should have a freedom of what they need to write. And when I said that in Kannada, mostly it is always the novel form. It's a novel writing. Kadambari we call in Kannada for the novel. It's always the novel which has dictated the narrative forms. Okay, though short story writing was always there, it was prominent, but the novels have decided or dictated what the style needs to be adopted. But there was one difference. Masti came into picture. Masti Venkatesha Iyengar, who is a prestigious, very, very famous author in Kannada. Somehow he was influenced by short story form of Standard magazine, which was coming in England. the Standard magazine, which was very, very popular at that time. He started following that magazine, and he thought, why can't I write short fiction rather than this novel form? So it's a long, prolonged form. So Masti started writing the short story, and till today we revere that. It's one of the most important writings of Kannada, and he is our forefather of the short story writing. So we all give him that respect, the Masti Venkatesh Iyengar. These are all very different. People have used their own local styles. If it is a North Karnataka, people were writing the North Karnataka language, whatever the dialect which they were using. Or if it is Southern Karnataka, the South Kannada we call, they use their dialects, whatever the South Kannada dialect is used. But this didn't continue for long, because later on, once the English education was available for the people from 1930 onwards, three people, one is Kuvempu, Kuppalli Venkatappa Puttappa, who is shortly called, his pen name is Kuvempu, and there was another legend called Anakru, Anna Krishnaraya, and Shivram Karanth. So they became stalwarts. So they started writing a voluminous novel forms, it's novels. So their idea was slightly different. They said, let us not use the dialect. If you use the dialect, it cannot reach to all the people of Karnataka. We shall try to use a simplified language, or we can call it as Granthika. Granthika means anything which is a prose, which is like a textbook like, So let us use that kind of a style so that it reach everyone, right? So that is the way they started. That became popular, but it also lost the essence of the dialects, so it left things. Within that, Karantha remained like that throughout his career. So all his 70 novels, he tries to use a dialect-free versions of the Kannada language, a simple Kannada language he tried to use. But Kuvempu changed immediately in his next magnum opus called Malagalali Madhumaglu. He started using the dialect of all the characters which comes in that. It could be a Dalit character, it could be Vakkali character, means farmers, or it could be Brahmin character. He used their dialects. He was very particular about using the dialect, but Anakru remained using a standard language, a smooth language kind of a thing. But what happened is, though they were not using the dialect, but they were very particular about the narration style. They had already realized that when you are explaining a sad event, the tone cannot be same when you are explaining a lively narration. So both narrations has to be very different. The same kind of a language cannot be used while explaining the situation-based fiction. So they were trying to change. And there was lot of introspection. So it's happened actually. So they started thinking about the introspection, and also they were not ideology based. See, once you take up the ideology based literature, it loses the dimensions and becomes one dimensional. So it will not allow you to reread such works, something which is ideology based. It's difficult to do a rereading of those novels. So very clearly these people did not keep the ideology in the front face. So it was behind. They also had their own ideologies, but it was behind the narration. It was not in the front of it, so they survived. So till today we reread them, both Kuvempu and Karantha. Most of them texts which is still referred to all the kids or the colleges and universities, they still read. But those who went behind the ideology, extensively on the ideology, it was lost actually. So they are not discussed much. They were very popular. They were very popular once upon a time, extremely popular, but we cannot read again, So it's only for propagating, advocating an ideology. So they are not in a position to get the rereaders. Means their passe. We say the passe. They are now out of the present scenario. But what the kind of a thing Kuvempu and Karanta used is realistic. Very, very realistic narrations which they use. Till today, realistic narration is the dominating narration style in Kannada. It has to be very, very realistic is what they expect, readers expect. But there are here and there are some changes. Now what happened after this thing? Then the Dalit movement came. So which we call it as Devanur Mahadeva's movement. So Devanur Mahadeva is a very noted fiction writer in Kannada, though whatever he has written, total fiction is not more than 120 pages. Okay, Devanur Mahadeva's works is not more than 120 pages. The total lifetime work of his fiction is only that much. But we celebrate him as the most important fiction writer of Kannada. Okay, so the Devanur Mahadeva, he break the narration style. He said, I am going to use the language which is spoken by my people, the Dalit people. I am going to tell the story in their own languages. So whatever they have said, so that's the one which I am going to use. And he is the most successful actually. And many followers came after Devanur Mahadeva. They all started imitating the dialects. Dialects means it's not just a caste-based dialect. See, there is one thing called caste-based dialects. But the Dalits of Mysore area, what they speak Kannada is very different from Dalits of Gulbarga region, what they speak. Right? So each area has got a different dialect. And each caste has a different dialect. If you talk about the Brahmins started writing their own dialects now. So dialects became a trend. But at the end of it, this Dalit movement, and we also call rebel movement, Bandaya, they all used the dialect and they wanted to very, very clearly specify their needs only. So that became the primary goal. Yeah, it was there, but dialect, not everyone was successful. What we need to remember is dialect is just a tool. Dialect itself cannot make your book as a magnum opus, it's just a tool. How you use that tool depends upon the author and his intellect and his ability, but dialect alone cannot make a book a better work, right? So that's how many of the dialect uses failed drastically during this dialect era period. But also we need to remember something else. Many of our authors, their mother tongue is not Kannada. Most of the authors, very successful authors, for example, you take Girish Karnad or Jayant Kaikini or Ishwan Chittar, all their mother tongue is Konkani. They speak Konkani at home. Only when they go to outside their home, they need to speak Kannada. So how will be their Kannada? It is very different from what the other people speak Kannada. So their dialects are very different. Similarly, Bendre's mother tongue is Marathi, and many of the people's mother tongue is Telugu. Though it was Telugu, it was influenced by Telugu, so they started using a different language. And just like Mrinalini was saying, the feminists came into picture so almost in the 1970s. Till then, we did not have the feminist voice. And the feminist voice was something very different. They started talking about their issues. Till then, it was not respected at all. So anything which was written by a woman, people have written. So women have written much before that. But it was not well respected, saying that it is limited only to the kitchen. They used to call it as the kitchen language, So very derogatively, they used to call it as a kitchen novels, kitchen languages kind of a thing. But they succeeded in showing that they have the ability, they have the contents which a man cannot handle it. So that also was proven. So women literature came into picture. Like Telugu, so we also had Muslim authors came, both men and women. And you might have read in the news now, one of our Muslim women author, this is Bhanu Mushtaq's book has been long listed for the Booker International Prize this year. Okay, so Banu Mustaq's short story collection has been done. So all these things was, but what happened is now there is something else started. See, we have just like a painting revolution which happened. In painting, what happens? In the beginning of the days, the painting means whatever you see, they used to imitate that. The nature, they used to imitate directly how it is. But once the photography came into picture, they said when there is a photograph, why do we need a painting? Which is exactly the replica of what we can see in the nature. Then we got a modern era, especially from the French or from the Europe. So all these people, Germans and all, they started coming with whatever is the modernism. So you have to talk symbolically. Anything you write has to have symbolic narration. These symbols or the images of a story or the images of the narration techniques, they all got changed, and people started sticking to so much that story also started going by in the background. Your symbols became more important than your story itself. So how symbolic. In fact, some of the stories in Kannada, you will not even understand what they are talking about. What you have understood is not exactly what he is trying to say. It will be totally different in the background. So that kind of a narration also was there. But now, the totally a different narration, because the modern days, what has happened is, till then, most of our authors were academicians. They neatly studied Kannada MA, they did Kannada PhD or the English literature. So that was the background for them. Now it is no longer the case. Software engineers, doctors, okay, architects, like that. So many very TV artists, film stars, they all started writing in Kannada. Their experiences are very different, and they have not studied all these literature theories which we speak in academics, so they don't know any of that. They have not even read our own traditional epics of Kannada also, they have not written. But they have a different experience, altogether different experience, and they have started writing. It has gone to such an extent that grammar is not the responsibility of the author. If there is a spelling mistake in an author's work, you cannot blame the author. It is the mistake of the publisher and the proofreader, and it's not the mistake of the author. Author need not have a very good grammar, or he need not have to know spellings accurately of Kannada. So that's what they are saying now. So it is not his responsibility. Let him write the way he wants. If he knows how to tell a good story, that's more than enough. Why are you expecting him to know a correct spelling, correct grammatical sentence? No, that can be corrected by someone else who is not a fiction writer. It's a totally a different job, altogether a different job. Editor has to do that one. If you know how to write properly, so tell the story, that is enough for a fiction writer. This is coming because many of the upper caste people, they had a belief that the Kannada which they speak is the right Kannada. For example, see, we say for milk, halu. Ha is there, halu. But most of the other caste people cannot say halu, they say alu. Right? Ha is very difficult to pronounce for many of them, they say alu. So it was, the people used to mock at them that you are talking so wrong Kannada and all. Now it is not the case. You can use that way only. This is the way our people are talking, and that's the language. Language is for us, not we are for the language. So that is also a movement which is going on. So anything when it comes to this thing in the book form, they are willing to accept that one. So there is no hesitation. And also along with that, we have got a lot of literature on mythology, especially because Rendamulam has come from MT, which is so popular here. I should mention a book from S.L. Bhairappa, which was written almost 5 years before Rendamulam came actually. So it is called as Parva. I don't know when it's been translated to Malayalam, definitely translated to English and Telugu. I'm sure people have read there. It's another masterpiece where Mahabharata has been viewed from so many different perspectives. Here it's only the Bhima is the protagonist. There no. Draupadi protagonist, there's one chapter. It's a 900-page book. Draupadi protagonist has one section, Bhima protagonist has one, and Kunti has another one, Arjuna has another one, like that. There's so many people come into picture and the entire narration takes it a different form. And Bhairappa said is something else. See, the entire complete grammatical sentence, you do it only while writing. When you are writing, right? So you write carefully a full sentence. But when you are thinking in your mind, you don't form that full sentence. It can be a half sentence correct and the half sentence of another one, you will mix it and jungle it. And the mind behaves in a very different way. So he started using that technique. What mind thinks as the language, which is not grammatically correct. For example, so I was going to lunch, you don't say I was going to, but then something else it gets added, so totally a different sentence will come into picture. So you should read it in Kannada, you'll come to know. He came up with that kind of a style, narration style, which is very successful. Many people imitated it also. So Parva is a masterpiece as far as the Mahabharata is concerned. I wish you also have that translation in Malayalam. Now what is happening is, the other thing which is coming is LGBT literature. It's very sound because I'm the first person who wrote the gay literature, so that came in the Kannada, and I openly admitted my sexuality also. After that, there are many youngsters who are willing to write their experiences. Okay, they are also very courageous and they are out and proud and they are writing gay literature. Not only the gay literature, it's also the lesbian literature is coming in Kannada. Okay, so it's not easy to write something about the lesbians. So lesbian literature has come, and also trans man. See, we'll have the autobiography of trans woman. That means a man being converted into woman. That is, we have seen in many languages. It is there in Tamil, it is there in Kannada, it is in Hindi, English also has come. But a girl getting transformed into a boy. So trans man autobiography has come in Kannada, which is highly respected, and this trend is quite a lot. And many of the modern people are talking about their experience with respect to Navy. So what kind of a Navy experiences they had? Very different one. And some of them are talking about the cancer survival techniques. So whatever they did as a cancer patient, so what is happened. So these kind of things are happening. As Mrinalini said, it's a personal experience. It's most of the time, it's the first person experience. This is what I experienced. This is what I'm writing it. Okay. But fiction is not that. Fiction is imagination. How do you imagine something which you are not aware of it? You are able to imagine something and then you are going to write. I feel that is the real fiction challenge. Okay, so that effort are a bit less, but still there are many of the historical novels are becoming very important. I wrote a fiction which is a 15th century, of course, a Calicut, Vasco da Gama period. So I wrote, it's called as Tejo Tungabhadra. I have never ever visited Lisbon, but I wrote the lifestyle of the Lisbon very cleanly. Means I did a research, I read the anthropology of them, and I wrote about it. And people have appreciated it actually. So they found it's very good. In fact, I've sold it more than 20,000 copies of my novel, which is 472 pages big. And I think next week or following week, it's coming from DC Books in Malayalam as well. It's been translated and they're publishing it here. DC Books is publishing. You will also get an idea. So I have personally have a feeling that you need, your imagination is what a real fiction is, not just a personal experiences. They can remain as an autobiography, it can be an autobiography, but they cannot be the same source for all your works is what I feel. For that, you really require lot of preparation, study. You need to study materials, but many of them don't study. So they don't understand the other language, what's going on, so they don't read them as well. So you won't get imaginative fiction. The fiction narration doesn't come into picture. Everything becomes the autobiographical. So these are all the things which I say. One thing which I missed is on the magic realism. Okay, so this, especially the magic realism of the South American writers and South African writers influenced a lot. The Kannada authors also started writing the magic realism. It's a bit sad actually. What has happened is India itself has got a lot of magic realism. They were not willing to consider Panchatantra as the magic realism, but they are very happily consider the Marquis kind of writing as the real magic realism. Okay, so that was going on. But one thing which we always need to know, remember that the languages which is used by all these South American writers and the African writers are not their mother tongue. They had lost their mother tongue due to colonization. But India luckily never lost their mother tongue. We still write in Kannada. Britishers though came here, they could not take away our Kannada. They could not take away your Malayalam. So that way, we still write in our own mother tongue is something very special compared to African writers and South American writers. So this, all the languages which they are using is colonized language. We don't know what was their original languages are. So the colonized language is what they are doing. So we need to be careful when we are imitating or when we are following a trend is what I feel. So this much is enough, I think. So this just should give you just a brief or a gist of what is going on in Kannada. But I'm very, very happy to say there is a lot of book writing happens in Kannada. So you will be scared to hear, like it will be around 7,000 to 8,000 books gets published every year in Kannada. 7,000 to 8,000 books, okay? It's not a small number. People write a lot, but finding the readers, it remains a challenge. It's not, writing is easy, finding a reader is very, very difficult. So people are struggling in that aspect. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. So I'm happy that on this occasion of remembering MT, I was able to talk about my Kannada literature, language, style and the craft. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasudendra. I'm sorry that I stamped you, tried to stamp that you are LGBT. Sorry, because I didn't read you before. Now I know that അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ എഴുത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു വാസ്റ്റ് നേച്ചർ ഇപ്പം നമ്മൾ സംസാരിച്ചപ്പോഴാണ് മനസ്സിലായത്. അതേപോലെ തന്നെ കന്നഡ റൈറ്റിങ്സിൻ്റെയും LGBT റൈറ്റിങ്ങിനെ പറ്റി അദ്ദേഹം പറഞ്ഞു. ലോക്കൽ ഡയലക്റ്റിൻ്റെ പ്രാധാന്യത്തെ പറ്റി പറഞ്ഞു. അതിനെപ്പറ്റിയുള്ള ചില സംഘർഷങ്ങൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് കന്നഡ ലാംഗ്വേജിലെ എഴുത്തിൽ വന്നത്. തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും ഐ ഫീൽ ദാറ്റ് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് വെരി ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് അബൌട്ട് ലോക്കൽ ഡയലക്റ്റ്. ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് വെരി ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് because it reflects the multicultural nature of our land and
but what is happening is everyone wants to reach outside the border. See, if you use your dialect, you will be restricted to Kerala. What about the others? So that challenge is always there for any dialect.
Okay. And he was talking about ഈ ആധുനികത, ഈ കന്നഡ ലാംഗ്വേജിലെ ആധുനികതയെ പറ്റി പറയുമായിരുന്നു. And he was talking about fiction is imagination, so anybody can write anybody's life. Right? Okay, that is correct. But whenever a person who is experiencing and writing, it gives some.
Write 2 novels, 3 novels. Beyond that,
No. I am not telling that you have to restrict in that itself. But when you write, that is when a lady writes, women write, it is different from men writing. And when a Dalit writes, it is different.
Different is okay.
But I am not telling that you should stick to that. We have to change. Okay. Thank you, both of you. രണ്ടുപേരുടെയും പ്രഭാഷണങ്ങൾ ഒന്നിനൊന്ന് മെച്ചം തന്നെയായിരുന്നു. നമ്മളോട് കൺവേ ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് അവരുടെ ഐഡിയാസൊക്കെ നമ്മളോട് കൺവേ ചെയ്യാൻ അവർക്ക് കൃത്യമായിട്ട് സാധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട് എന്നാണ് ഞാൻ വിചാരിക്കുന്നത്. വളരെ സന്തോഷമുണ്ട് രണ്ടുപേരുടെയും പ്രഭാഷണങ്ങൾ ശ്രവിക്കാനും അതിന് ആധ്യക്ഷം വഹിക്കാൻ സാധിച്ചതിനും. സാഹിത്യ അക്കാദമിയോട് ഞാൻ നന്ദി പറയുന്നു, തുഞ്ചൻ പറമ്പിനോട് നന്ദി പറയുന്നു. താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച്.